Hello and welcome back to the channel. So in this second part of this Vickers build, we're going to get the model finished, weathered up, paint some figures and bring it onto a base. So we're starting here just painting these black uniforms, which are a little bit tricky because black is, quite difficult to actually make it pop. There's not a lot of high contrast there. It's not like it's black and white, for instance, where it would be easy. But all we do is I've sprayed it over with rubber black, and now I'm just going over with some acrylic blacks that I've got. And I was in the previous part that you just seen, I'm just darkening the recesses, so I'm then forcing high points from the rubber black that's already on there. And now we're just base coating, really, going around. This is using a Citadel colour, Zandri Dust. They've got about 4 or 5 nice acrylic colours, but there's lots of manufacturers. You basically just want to pick a colour that you like from a manufacturer that you like. And I'm also enjoying AK 3rd Gen, I think it is, their acrylic range. They've got a figure range, and I find them very nice. But here we're using, in a wet palette, Citadel. Now I will leave links below for all the videos. I've done a video, if you don't know what a wet palette is, there's a video in the link below. And also when we get into the building up the sort of diorama base, the vignette base, I don't go deep into it here because I've done it in a previous video. So now we've painted in their belts and their gun holsters around the leg, and that shading starting to show through. We're just about to go on and improve that a little bit. And you can see the wet palette there just in the top of the screen. So I'm now going in with another black colour. And when I say black, there's lots of off blacks, dark greys, or you can mix a little bit yourself. And again, now I'm just sort of going over and picking some high points and also focusing on those recesses as well. And it's trying to darken without just going all over with a wash. You're trying to kind of force the way it looks. I don't like how these figures come out, to be honest. Not to blame the tools, but we're starting at a point where the figures aren't that good. These are the gecko ones. They're the only real plastic early BEF British figures I could find. It would have been much better to go down the route of a resin figure, because if you start with a figure that's got a lot more detail, you have to do a lot less work, if that makes sense. Whereas when you've got kind of blobby features on faces and stuff, you've got to do a lot of the work of adding the definition. And unless you're a really good figure painter, you're going to struggle to do that. Whereas if you start with like a resin figure where it's got really detailed pockets and recesses in the clothing and the face is extremely detailed, all you've got to do is colour it in. That's dumbing it down a little bit, but that's really what you're dealing with, is those sort of things. So, it's probably better, rather than having 3 figures from a plastic set, maybe, invest in just one resin figure from Alpine or something like that. That's kind of where I'm going now, I must admit. Same old thing here. So you're not alone if you do this. I can always paint one eye fine and then the other eye I can't. It's because I'm right-handed, so for some reason I get in my own way to paint the other side. But if you do what I've done there and have a big blob in the eye, don't worry about it, just keep going, draw a line down the middle to give it the pupil, and then you just cut back in with the flesh colours, and that's acceptable. Flesh colours here were Citadel, so it was a base coat of Bugman's Glow, and then going over that with Cadian Flesh, and then highlighting with Kislev Flesh. They got funny names. And then once I'd done the eyes, which is really just a white for the actual eye, and then grey line for the iris, I believe. Then I've gone in with a wash of Agrax Earthshade. So it was as simple as that. Now we're on to the BEF scheme, which is the early scheme. I forget the name. I did know the name. It's got a name, this scheme. But these are the colours I've used, and I think they're bang on. As I have found with MRP, I think all of their paint colours are really, really good for the kind of colour I think it should look like. I didn't film it because I sprayed it one colour and then I just sprayed patches of the other colour on it, and it's as simple as that. And if I film it, it makes life a lot more difficult. Now we're using the Vulcan decals. Now, obviously, it's not really worth spending too much time on these because this is the only kit they've ever built and it's not easily found. But their decals are good. I don't know who made them, but they're good. They're good. I was a bit worried, but no, they're fine. Carrier film's a little bit heavy, but for the most part, I was reasonably happy with it. And just using the old Microsol and Microset combination, once it's in position. There was obviously a lot of carrier film that's holding that 4 in place, but I didn't have any issues with silvering or anything like that. It is a glossy surface. That is the MRP surface. So I haven't put a gloss coat on this. That's just the paint as it is. And I like that feature, to be honest. And I've said it before on the channel. That it's very good stuff. It's bomb-proof, and it's very tough and hard wearing. And you can see the decals are very effective once they're on. No problem there at all. And there's the Microsol. That's the stuff that lets it go down over the raised features. So starting out at base, obviously you can see it's a bit disjointed here because there's a huge gap in me painting this model and finishing it. It's one of those, it's a real success story that I've got this across the line for me personally. This is a shelf queen if there ever was one. To start the base, you've got to start with planning. So you want to think about what scene you want. And then that gives you the size of the base that you need. And then you go from there. In general planning, my advice would be don't make it too tight. Leave a little bit of space, but then don't have it overly large as well, because then you've got dead space that you need to fill. So you want to keep it concise, but you want to have enough wiggle room to show the scene that you want to show, but it doesn't want to be excessive. And as you can see, this is what I've decided to do. I thought I'll have a little bit of a raised area at the back to give it height, so it's running up, and we'll just go for this sort of size. Now I've scored that. I haven't committed to cutting yet. It's still in the planning phase, and you can use, as I am here, sanding sticks or something like that, just to give you an idea. You can move that in, see if you want to get it tighter, or you move it out if you want it to be larger. And then you shake a bit of magic dust, and it looks like this. So as I said, there is a video down below where I go into putting on static grass, putting on groundwork, and it's actually better than this turned out. All I've done here is painted the base brown after putting on some groundwork paste, which is, in this case, I used it's like papier-mâché, but you could use filler, you could use all sorts of things. There's custom-made products that you can just press onto it and it dries. So it's really, figures falling all over the place here. It's really just find something that works for you. Try different products. I'm not totally dialed in on something yet. I do tend to use filler that I've put some brown paint in, and then go from there. But the static grass is applied with a static grass applicator. The brown mud underneath the tracks there is just some enamel products from Ammo, heavy mud, just colours that I picked. This is meant to be May, so it's kind of late spring, early summer sort of colour. And I've sprayed the grass green. So the important thing is not to rely on the products themselves. You want to pretty early decide that you're going to paint the groundwork. Now you can do that by spraying it all over one colour and then starting from scratch, or you can use the colours that they are, so the grass is green, and you can just spray a bit of green over it. But this is the products as they were. So that's the brown from the Ammo, heavy mud, just in some dug-in recesses into the foam, into the base. And then this is it once you've applied washes and painted it. So as you can see, you're getting definition now. I'm just using enamel washes just to give some depth. You've got Starship Wash and Dark Mud. The dark mud, I'm concentrating on and around the areas where the tracks will be, and I'm also then adding blobs of earth and cursed soil, so 3 different colours of earth to blend it. If you try and work on things in freeze, so if you want to add some definition, if you've just got a green colour, if you then add 3 colours to that and mix them through to kind of fade it, give it a filter, whatever you want to call it, you'll add enough definition and contrast that it will start to look good. So that's tend to be what I do. In a minute, I'm working on freeze. But what I do now have in this video is a bit of time concentrating on actually weathering the tank. Sometimes I skip over this, so this time I've skipped over the base to give you more time on the weathering. So we're just going to use straight up enamel products. I am like many of you. I can get a tank to this stage and then the thought of weathering it is just too much, and it goes on the shelf and it stays there, and I'm trying to stop that because it's just unnecessary. We should be finishing models. There's no reason not to. I haven't quite cracked what the issue is, but there is an issue. So we're going to have a look at that. So first off, this is the process I've gone with. We're going to do the running gear. So this is loose ground from the Splashes range on ammo, and I'm literally out of the pot dabbing this on in and around the back of the running gear, and this is in real time as well. So once you've done that, then we go on with turned earth. So it's still a bit wet from the loose ground below, and now you just so now you don't go all over. Your loose ground was the one that gave you your base coat, if you like. And now we're going in with this one, and we're just picking areas where we're going to have sort of heavier colour and a bit more depth. And then when that's sorted, and we straighten up our camera angle, we then are going to look at going in with a little bit more, and this is a lighter colour. Now this is cursed soil, I believe. As you can see, it was slightly off camera, so I'm not sure totally what it was, but it looks like cursed soil, and that gives you that big highlight. It just raises the colour because it's just totally different to the colours we've done. Then a big brush that hasn't been used before with a little bit of neat thinners and a dabbing motion blends it all together. And you can see it's getting a lot wetter now, and that's fine. We want it to get quite a lot of thinners on it and start getting to a heavier thinned mix, and then we let that set. You can use a hairdryer if you want to speed it up, but really it takes about an hour before it starts to go off, and some of those products are glossy. So I've now offered it up to the base, and I want to now blend it in. Once that's done, I carry those colours up and around the model. So where you see these splashes, they are just using the splashes in your cocktail stick and flicking it along the wheels, and it's using those same 3 colours. So that's the principle. Once you've set with your 3 colours, use them through the rest of the weathering. As far as panel lining and around the bolt heads, that's just a dark wash for green vehicles from ammo. It's as simple as that. That's all that's happened here. There's been no filters or any messing about like that. It's just straight on, dealing with the colours and doing all this over a matte coat. So if you're struggling, try that. Keep it simple. Pick 3, 4, 5 colours. Focus them on different areas. You could do the same thing again. So these are where you got this wash on that front door behind where the chap stood there. That is a really heavily thinned loose ground, and just let it wash around, and it will find where it will pull, and it won't go where it wouldn't pull, and it's as simple as that. We've got the chaps with a map there as well. I'm a little bit proud of how we end up doing that map. So there we are. You can see the ammo products in the background. I've got about 6 or 7 there. That's the ones I picked. I didn't use all of them in this build. I had another tank on the go, which you'll see in a couple of weeks. Now we've got, as I'm showing you here again, we've got Wet Mud, Starship Wash. They're all products I've used on this model. And in the next couple of builds we do, I'll try and focus a bit more on different aspects. So this was the running gear. Then we might look at the splashes next time. As you can see, this is what it is. And it's as simple as a cocktail stick having the colour on the brush and flicking it against the cocktail stick. There's no more than that after you've already done the free base coats that we showed earlier. You can see the tracks are a little bit high here. Now I use my filler mix just to push that and under, and then that puts the tracks on the ground. It's one thing you want to look for, otherwise tanks don't tend to float, so it gives you that weighted feel then. But there we are, there's the products. It's simple. These washers are about £4 to £5 each. They're perfectly, they're widely available and very easy to use. I would suggest getting the odourless thinners to go with it, because it's a lot nicer when you're in a room than having like white spirit or something like that. This map, I went on Google and I looked for BEF 1940 map. I found this of France and I printed it out as you saw, which was the original size, and then I shrunk it down to this size, and I thought, well, a large map, if you held it, it would be about the size that we just had it then. Give it a couple folds. It's in black and white. I was going to put some red or blue marks on it, but I thought, well, no. I thought about weathering it as well, and then I thought, well, it would be pretty much brand new for these guys. The idea of this is, they're trying to get to Dunkirk, really. That's the story I'm telling. Whether they're lost on their own, whether they're with a whole group of tanks and everyone's trying to get back to Dunkirk, not sure. But it is a bit of a laid-back scene, so that they're not too stressed out about this. So I just thought that gave you something to see when they're holding the map. It was a bit of a challenge getting it between the two figures, but I did it in the end, just a bit of PVA glue. You got him pointing at it and the other guy holding it. And that's really tells the simple story of this scene, and that's one of the things I like to do. I'm trying to do a bit more with these models is bring them to a base, tell a little bit of a story, or at least give scale to some of these tanks. This is a very small tank, and these three guys got in this, and you'd wonder how. And it was a very light, fast reconnaissance tank, really. I don't think this was really aimed at fighting other tanks or even people. But I'm very pleased to have brought this one to an end. And I'll leave you now with a few photos. And I do think, it's important to try and get these models across the line. And I'm really happy that I managed to do that with this one. And I hope you enjoyed following along with it. So we've got videos coming each week now for a period. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and you'll see the new videos come up in your subscription feed. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like the video, give it a like and a thumbs up. That always helps the YouTube algorithm. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.